So the mock exam, topic 5 to topic 8. The first question, the ionic half equation for the formation of oxygen during the electrolysis of aluminum oxide is shown. What are the values of X and what are the values of Y? So how we can identify the value of X and value of Y? Look, if one oxygen is -2, so it will lose 2 electrons and it will turn into oxygen atom. So if we have 2 oxide ions, they will produce oxygen gas, and how many electrons they will lose? They will lose 4 electrons. So one oxygen loses 2 electrons. So 2 oxygen will lose 4 electrons. So what is the value of X? The value of X should be 2. And what about the value of the Y? The value of the Y should be 4. So X should be 2 and Y is equals to 4. That's why D should be the right answer for this. Second question. The diagram shows a section of overhead power cable. So this diagram is actually representing or showing the overhead power cable. Which statement explains why a particular substance is used? So we have aluminum is there, steel cables and ceramic. So aluminum is having a low density and it is a good conductor of electricity. This is correct. So using an aluminum, because low density, so we can easily, like, it will have a low mass for a unit volume, as well as it's a good conductor of electricity, so allow the electricity to pass from one place to another. Ceramic is not a conductor, it is insulator. Steel can rust in damp air, but that is not the reason why steel is used. And steel is more dense than aluminum. That is also true, but that is not the reason. Because steel is having a greater strength, so we use aluminum cables. Always you will find a steel core so that the density will be high, like it will make it stronger. So the main purpose is aluminum is having a low density and it can conduct electricity, which allow the electricity to pass from one place to another. In question 3, during electrolysis of dilute sulfuric acid, the hydrogen is collected at cathode. What is the half equation? So when hydrogen ion is there, it will take 1 electron, it form hydrogen atom. But the non-metal cannot exist. The non-metal cannot exist as an atom, it will always be a molecule. So when 2 hydrogen ions are there, they will take 2 electrons and it will form a hydrogen gas. So 2 hydrogen ions, they will take 2 electrons and it will form a hydrogen gas. So C will be the right answer. The next question is related to calculation of the energy change or enthalpy change of combustion. We have a methane and oxygen molecule which burn to give carbon dioxide and water. To solve these questions about the energy changes, the first step is you have to draw the correct structure. Like CH4 means carbon bonded with 4 hydrogen. And O2, oxygen belongs to group 6, so there will be a double bond between them. And how many oxygen are there? 2 oxygen molecules. So reactant side is always a bond breaking side. Then the product side, you have CO2, carbon dioxide, plus water is there, H2O, so HO and H. And how many water molecules are there? 2, so it will be HO and H. So there are 2 water molecules and 1 carbon dioxide. Now bond breaking, because of energy change, is equal to bond breaking minus bond forming. So the bond breaking energy, how many bonds we are breaking? We are breaking CH bonds. How many CH bonds are broken? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 CH bonds are there. And oxygen double bonded with oxygen bonds we are also breaking. And how many of them? How many O double bonded with O bonds are broken? Here that is 2. So O double bonded with O multiplied by 2. Then bond forming OC or CO is the same thing. It does not make difference. So one OC and the other one is CO. So two CO bonds are there. And OH and HO is the same thing. So how many OH or HO bonds are there? 4 OH or HO bonds. Then we substitute the value. So this will be 4 into 410 plus 2 into 496. So this will be the bond breaking energy. Calculate this bond breaking energy. How much is this? 4 into 410 plus 2 into 496. So this is the bond breaking energy 2632 kilojoule per mole. And bond forming energy, that is 2 multiplied by CO or OC bond, that is 805 plus 4 into OH or HO bond, that is 460. What's the answer for bond forming energy? 3460. 3460. So 450. Okay. Then the bond breaking energy minus bond forming energy. When we take the difference, we'll get the energy change for a chemical reaction. Bond breaking minus bond forming. So it should be 818, but negative 818, because the bond breaking energy is 2632 minus the bond forming energy 3450. Yeah, that's right. A is the correct answer. So the important thing is you have to draw the structure to identify the number of bonds present in each molecule. The next one, which diagram represent an endothermic reaction? In endothermic reactions, reactants have low energy. Whenever we have an endothermic reaction, so the reactants in the chemical reaction, they have low, their particles will have low energy, and the product particles will have high energy. So we have to check first which one can be an endothermic. So either B can be an answer or D can be an answer, because both cases the reactant have low energy and the product is having high energy. Then during an endothermic reactions, what happened? The energies, the reaction mixture, a container in which a reaction occurs, or a particles of the reactant molecule, they absorb energy from the surrounding. They take energy from the surrounding, like for them, say water is a surrounding. So they're absorbing energy from the surrounding. So what is the energy transfer for endothermic reactions? The energy transfer is from the surrounding to the reaction. So B is the correct option. If it was an exothermic reaction, energy transferred to the surrounding. But if it's an endothermic, energy transfer from the surrounding to the reaction mixture. The apparatus shown to use to measure the rate of a reaction. So basically in this reaction, we are measuring the volume of a gas. So if you are measuring a volume of a gas, for which reaction we can use it, the reaction in which the gas is given out. So you can see the product here, the gaseous product is for the first reaction. That's why A is the correct answer. Why we cannot use for B, C, or D? Because there is no gaseous product. If gas is not given out, we cannot collect the gas in the gas syringe. So we cannot measure the rate or the speed of reaction by measuring the change in volume. In question 7, P is hydrated metal salt with blue color. So which salt is blue color? Blue in color when it is hydrated. Hydrated means it contains water of crystallization. So means this is hydrated copper sulfate, because copper sulfate with a water molecule, 5 water molecule, that is blue in color. When P is heated, water is given off and leaving a solid Q. So what will be solid Q? The solid Q will be anhydrous copper sulfate. And what is the appearance? Anhydrous means does not contain a water of crystallization. And what is the appearance of anhydrous copper sulfate? It is white in color. Then There is R is hydrated metal, which is pink color. So which hydrated compound is pink in color? That is a cobalt chloride. Cobalt 2 chloride, hydrated cobalt chloride is pink in color. So R is actually the hydrated cobalt chloride. When R is heated, water is given off and leaves solid S. So what will be this solid S? This solid S will be blue in color, and that solid S is basically anhydrous cobalt chloride, means cobalt chloride without a water of crystallization. So what is the name of P? What is the name of the P? P is hydrated copper salt. So that is a hydrated copper sulfate. And what is the color of S? S is a cobalt chloride, and cobalt chloride, anhydrous cobalt chloride is blue in color, means the cobalt chloride without the water of crystallization. So hydrated copper sulfate, P is hydrated copper sulfate, and the color of substance S is blue because it is anhydrous cobalt chloride. So it matches with description C. In question 8, magnesium react with copper oxide to give magnesium oxide and copper. Which substance is oxidizing agent? So best way to solve this question is write an equation. So magnesium is there, which is Mg. It is reacting with copper 2 oxide. Copper 2 oxide means copper valencies +2 and oxygen belongs to group 6, so -2. When we simplify the valency, simplest ratio 1:1. So copper oxide formula is CuO. So when they react with each other, magnesium is more reactive. The magnesium will displace the copper from its compound. So as a result, it will produce a magnesium oxide, and the formula of magnesium oxide is also MgO, because magnesium is +2 and oxygen group 6 -2. So when we simplify, the simplest ratio is 1:1. So magnesium oxide plus copper metal is there. In terms of oxygen, because you can clearly see the oxygen, in terms of oxygen, if addition of oxygen is there, we call oxidation, and removal of oxygen we call reduction. So first we have magnesium, and then we have magnesium oxide. So magnesium turned into magnesium oxide, this change. So this change is known as oxidation, because the term oxidation means addition of oxygen. And the other change, so this change is oxidation, which is the addition of oxygen, and copper oxide turned into copper metal, so removal of oxygen, so this change is reduction. But what about oxidizing agent or oxidant and reducing agent or reductant? So for a substance which oxidation happens, so for a substance which oxidation happens, that is reducing agent. And for substance which reduction happens, that is an oxidizing agent or oxidant. So the question is, which substance is oxidizing agent? So which substance is oxidizing agent? The copper 2 oxide is an oxidizing agent. You can also state the answer. You can use your chat or a mic if you know the answer. In question 9, the part of a periodic table is shown. The element which form acidic oxide. Look, types of oxide. There are two types of oxide. Metal oxides are there. And we have non-metal oxides. So two types of oxides are there. Metal oxide and non-metal oxide. Metal oxide can be classified or divided into two categories. One is called, or one is known as the basic oxide. Another one is amphoteric. Basic oxides can react with acids only. Amphoteric can react with both acid and alkali. And non-metal oxides are acidic oxides or a neutral oxide. Neutral oxide cannot react with any of the reagents such as acid or alkali, and acidic oxide can only react with base. So acidic oxide, basically they're asking for non-metal oxide. So A and C cannot be an answer. Why? Because A and C are metals. So we are left with two options, B and D. B is a non-metal. D is also a non-metal. But why D cannot be an answer? Because D is a group 8 element. Group 8 element does not form the compounds. That's why it cannot form an oxide at all. D is a non-metal, but the thing is, because D is having a complete shell, so it does not react with oxygen. As a result, it does not form an oxide. So its oxide does not exist. That's why the correct answer for this question is B, that is a non-metal which can form an oxide, and that oxide likely to be acidic. In question 10, when aqueous sodium hydroxide is added to a solution of a metal ion, gray-green precipitates are there which dissolve in excess of a green, form a green solution. So you have to learn, this is a test or identification of a positive ion. What are the color of the precipitates when you add sodium hydroxide? Normally, if there was a copper, then it will give a blue color precipitate. If it is iron 3, it will give a red-brown precipitate. If it is iron 2, that is a dirty green precipitate. And when it is chromium, it will give a green or a gray precipitate, gray-green precipitate. And for in case of iron, look, both chromium 3 and iron 2 are given green precipitate, but the difference is that when you add sodium hydroxide, iron precipitates are insoluble, does not dissolve. Whereas chromium precipitate can dissolve, a small quantity can dissolve to form a dark green solution. That's why A is the right answer for this. So this is related to identification of the ion, the memorizing the test for the ions. In question 11, which statement about strong acids are correct? Strong acids, the definition, they ionize completely. Ionize means dissociate into ion. So these strong acids, they ionize completely. So strong as they ionize complete, like example, if you have a hydrochloric acid, it will dissociate into hydrogen ion and a chloride ion. So strong acids will have higher concentration or more hydrogen ions. So when we check the options, they have high concentration of hydroxide ion. That is wrong. This is a property of alkali, strong alkalis, that they will have high concentration of hydroxide ions. Strong acids have a pH 1 or 2. That is true. That is correct. They completely ionize in water or dissociate in water. That's also true. And they turn the red litmus blue. That is wrong. This is not the property of acid. This is the property of an alkali. So statement 2 and 3 are correct with reference to this question. Then the structure question, silver chloride can be made by reacting aqueous two salts. This is how we can prepare an insoluble salt. We call that as an ionic precipitation. Like when we mix the two salt solution, a solid is formed and we can filter this solid, filter and dry. So student make attempt to make the maximum amount of sodium nitrate crystals. So first, student want to make a sodium nitrate crystals. The student add aqueous sodium chloride. So student mix sodium chloride with silver nitrate. As a result, what will happen? Neither reagent is in excess, like both reacted completely. Then student filtered the mixture. When a student filtered the mixture, because this will be a solid, so it will be a residue on the filter paper. When we filter the mixture on the filter paper, we are left with silver chloride, AgCl. And what passes through the filter paper, that is silver nitrate. And now this is a silver nitrate solution. So how we can obtain a salt from this solution? Either we can use evaporation or crystallization. So student obtain the crystals from the filtrate by either evaporation or crystallization. Describe what student observe in step 1. So what student will observe in step 1, because what student will observe, because student is mixing a two salt solution. One is sodium chloride, another one is silver nitrate. So when student mix the two salt solutions, as a result, silver chloride is formed, and you can see what is a silver chloride. It is a solid. So by mixing two liquid solutions, a solid is formed. So what you can write here, you can write PPT or precipitate. PPT or precipitate means that a solid is formed by mixing the two solution. You can mention the color of the precipitate, but important thing is mentioning that we observe the PPT or precipitate, and silver chloride precipitate are white in color. So you can mention white PPT. Then why the residue? Why the residue is washed in step 2? So why we wash this residue? This is the residue, the silver chloride, AgCl. So